Recording in progress.
All right. Good evening and welcome to the November 5th meeting of the Historic District Commission. It looks like we've got a full enough panel here, so I will introduce everyone. On my far right is our alternate Larry Booz,
Hi, good evening.
and then our other alternate, Susan Strauss.
Good evening.
So welcoming back Dr. Dan Brown,
Good evening.
Martin Ryan,
Good evening.
our Vice Chair Margot Doring.
Hello.
I'm Reagan Rudig, the Chair. We've got Isaac Gilbo from the Planning Department.
Good evening.
And Mr. David Adams.
Good evening.
We may have Joy Kurth come and join us or not. We'll see. But we do know that Councilor Blaylock will not be with us this evening. All right. So the board's action in these matters has been deemed to be quasi-judicial in nature. If any person believes any member of the board has a conflict of interest, that issue should be raised at this point or it will be deemed waived. All right. We do have a long agenda, but we do have a lot of requests for postponement. So I'm going to read all of those out, and I'll wait for a motion to request all of these to next month.
Yes.
Okay. So the first one is public hearing number 4. The public hearing requested by Ralph 1912 LLC, owner for property located at 175 Fleet Street. And then number 5 is public hearing requested by Capital Security Financial Services, owner for property located at 40 Market Street. And then number 7 is a public hearing requested by Peter and Morgan Caraviello, owners for property located at 366 Islington Street. And then our work session, old business A, work session A, is requested by Double MC LLC, owner for property located at 134 Pleasant Street. So that work session is postponed.
Motion to postpone?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Thank you. Welcome, Joy. We actually had your name card all the way up here, so you can be with us.
Good luck with that.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the approval of minutes from last month, the October 1st
What,
meeting.
agenda?
Does anybody have any corrections or comments on the minutes?
I need to recuse.
I just had 2 small grammatical changes that I gave to Isaac.
Okay. All right, great. Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second, anyone? All right, great, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye.
Need to hear about our recusements?
Yes, for the administrative approvals?
Actually, it's going to be for a work session.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm going to have to drop out for the one on 177
Mechanic?
Mechanic Street, yep.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know. All right.
Thank
so
you.
That will be later. We'll move to administrative approvals. Are there any recusals necessary by anyone for those?
Not a administrative approval, but for a hearing.
Oh, okay. We can get to that.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. Isaac, take it away.
Okay. 1 second, let me get my screen shared. Okay, so the first administrative approval is 139 South Street, Unit A. This project was before the commission, believe last month or just the month before. They are proposing a couple of revisions. The first would be to revise the rear eave detail and simplify the roof structure. The second would be an amendment to the previous HVAC equipment, so a revision to that. And lastly, just a revision to the gutter material that's at the rear of the property. So we can see the change in location of the addition, excuse me, of an additional condenser. And then this will show the existing condition of the roof, and then the changes that are proposed. And does anyone have any further questions? Okay, great. We will move right along to item number 2, which is 1 Rains Avenue. As everyone knows, this is a larger project that got approval a couple of years ago. It did go through court process. They came out with approvals from that. And so as they're getting moving, they do have a couple of revisions to the approved design. What they would be looking at here specifically is to revise the trash and recycling room door. They would like to revise the northeast entry door, and there are minor dimensional updates around the perimeter. Those adjustments were made for brick coursing and constructability reasons.
Isaac, did they provide any sort of cut sheet on the door for the recycling? I mean, there's a picture, a sketch of it, but
I believe the only
it's just that sort of
step for the
picture on the
overhead
left. Yeah.
door would be here. Let's see. Looks like it would be charcoal in color, aluminum panel, but that's about as much detail on the door that we've got.
All right.
Not sure if there is someone who could speak more to that specific detail. Sorry.
Good evening, Carla Goodnight from CJ Architects. Yes, we're looking at a aluminum overhead door, and it would be powder coated in, that's a factory finish in black. We haven't picked a vendor, but that's the specification for it. So, and it would be that panel layout. So, and it would be appearing in the small, it's a very small door to the right of the 3 large openings, and to the left of the entry door on the first floor. So it's that little small area right there.
I have no trouble with the area, the location, or the concept. If we could have, when you choose the manufacturer, if you could bring that back, because I'm sure there'll be something else between now and then.
Yes, you can stipulate that we'll add the manufacturer.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Larry?
I understand where the location of the door is, but if we go back up 3 screens to the layout that shows the parking, I guess my question is, how are they getting in to upload the trash? Is it a truck coming in to do that? Is there enough room to spin a truck around back there if you're going to put an overhead door in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were all done. That's, it's a compactor system. So they would just be compacting the trash, and then the containers, actually you can see the containers right in here. They're relatively small. There it is, okay. The containers are right there. And you
Okay.
can see they're relatively small, as this is roughly a parking space, so you can see it's not a large container. So it would come and be picked up as any garbage truck would do.
Okay, and in no case, the containers aren't visible then from the outside?
No, they'd be, this is where the door is located, right here. So the containers would be back in here, and then these are the compactors coming down from above.
Okay,
So,
got you. Thank you.
okay.
Okay. With that, we will move along to item number 3, which is 303 Pleasant Street. This is a very straightforward proposal. The applicant is seeking to replace 2 existing plexiglass basement windows with new wood windows that are made of mahogany. And I will just, so these are the 2 existing windows now. And as mentioned, they would just be swapped out. Essentially, well, not exactly an in-kind, better than in-kind, but would be keeping the same sizing, dimensions, all of that.
Puzzled, there are 3 windows on that side of the building, in that and they're only choosing to change two of them. My question, I guess, would be, is that going to, I'd hate to think that it makes the one that's remaining the odd man out. I'd hate to think that they were of different profile and dimension. Do we know that?
I'm not aware of the reason why just maybe 2 out of the 3. Do we perhaps have the property owner in the audience who could maybe just clarify? Don't see anyone. Sorry, I can't answer that, Dave.
All right.
Do we have any other questions on that one, or do we want to pull that out for further discussion? Or, all right,
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay. All right, then I will move right along to item number 4, and that would be 420 Pleasant Street. And the applicant here has been before us for a work session, which resulted in just very slight changes to a already previously approved design. So they've just have a few changes that they would like to make. The first is to change the previously approved Anderson 400 series Woodbright windows on the third floor, or in the third floor patio door, to the Marvin Elevate series. Change 4 previously approved double hung windows with faux double hung casements, which would provide egress from the bedrooms. They would like to locate 3 mini split condensers at the rear of the building to be screened and placed on snow stands. And then lastly, the window at the existing rear addition has been adjusted to reflect proper existing size. And the rear addition roof pitch is a 6/12, and those were just corrections that they wanted noted. And does anyone have any questions on those particular changes? Okay. Moving on, that will bring us to item number 5, which is 60 Prospect Street. The applicant here is seeking the approval of HVAC equipment, condensers, and line sets. They are proposing to be located at the rear of the building. Here's the existing conditions of the rear. They do have a fenced-in portion that runs along the side and the back. And the condenser would be located underneath the existing rear porch, which would be screened by the fencing. They are proposing to run a vertical line set. And we could stipulate, of course, that that's covered and that it, blend in as best as possible. Unfortunately, the brick looks like was faded, the paint is faded, or it was sort of maybe washed in that way, so it would be hard to replicate.
To that end, I think that everyone would be better served by leaving it white, have an opportunity to match the downspouts, which,
Sure.
because there's clearly an issue with contrast and a variable paint surface.
Sure. If everyone is comfortable, then we could stipulate that it be left white or painted white.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move along to item number 6, which is 111 Gate Street. Again, this project was before us just a few months ago. They have just a couple of revisions to propose. The first is 2 windows on both bedrooms 3 and 4. Let's see. So they were looking to change the locations of those, and then change the location of one proposed new window on the east wall. And that's fairly straightforward. Does anyone have any additional questions for those revisions? Okay. All right. That will bring us to item number 7, which is 112 Newcastle Avenue. This project has been before us the last couple of months. They are just requesting to have 1 additional rear window infilled. This is in addition to one other window that they got approval for to infill. And as you can see, it is this rear window in the back. For the last one, we had stipulated that it just get patched with clapboards to match the existing. And we could make that same stipulation if that's appropriate.
Sounds good.
Okay. And then, last but not least, for admin approvals this evening, we have 320 South Street. And again, this is for condenser and line sets. So here's the front of the building. The mini split condensers and line sets would be just around the corner. As shown here, there are 2 condensers and then 2 line sets, one to the first floor and then one up to the second floor. And again, we could stipulate that this is screened. It is heavily vegetated. During the winter, a little bit more sparse, but we could, of course, stipulate a wood screening and that any conduit lines be painted to match the siding.
To that end, I'd suggest that and I'm not certain if they're junipers or cedars, but there's a small hedge, 5 or 6 small trees there, green all year long. They have significant trunks on them. I think they're very healthy. And the side lot is not that large. I'd be willing to bet that those trees are going to remain and provide
Sure.
excellent screening.
Okay. Okay. If everyone's comfortable with that, then
Paint to match.
good to match. Perfect. So let me just quickly run through those one last time. So item number 1, excuse me, 139 South Street, Unit A. I did not have any stipulations written.
Oops.
Item number 2, 1 Rains Avenue. Just as the stipulation is that they come back with the manufacturer of the window when that is chosen. Leave it at that. Item number 3, 303 Pleasant Street. I don't have any stipulations. Item 4, 420 Pleasant Street. The one stipulation is, let's see. Have a stipulation and I can't read my writing, which is great. Does anyone recall?
Where it was white?
Oh, to just paint the conduits white. Yes, thank you. Oh, no, sorry, that was for Pleasant Street, Prospect Street. 420 Pleasant Street, no stipulations, excuse me. Item 5, 60 Prospect Street, we stipulated that they paint the conduit lines white. Item number 6, 111 Gates Street, no stipulations. Item 7, 112 Newcastle Ave, we stipulate that the window get infilled with clapboards that match the existing. Item number 8, 320 South Street, we have the stipulation that the conduit lines get matched to paint the house.
Sounds good. Can I get a motion to,
So moved,
And seconded?
as stipulated?
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, Isaac, for all that. All right, tonight, now that Joy has joined us, Susan, you'll be voting tonight in place for Rich Blaylock. And so we'll move on to our public hearings. Our first one is work session public hearing requested by Brian and Kyle LaChance, owners, for property located at 86 South School Street, wherein permission is requested to allow new construction to an existing structure, construct a new mudroom with steps to the front and rear yards, and the installation of new fencing as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 101 as Lot 63 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts. All right, who is here to discuss this? This is a work session public hearing, so if you'd like, we can all come down to the table and talk, but, you know.
I think you're fine right there.
Okay,
So
great.
Brian LaChance, 86 South School Street. So yeah, there are a few things that we talked about in the last time, and one was the change to the entryway roof line. So we've made that adjustment so that it's no longer a shed roof. It now, I think, yeah, it's like slide 5, I think, right there. So now it's the way you'd like. We still don't show the entryway cover. However, we will install a cover very similar to the front door. The key's going to be tying it into the roof line, so we've had some, it's a fairly flat cover. So there's not much space between the roof line and where it will go, so it's going to have to literally be tied into the roof line so that we don't have problems with the flashing. So we've had the discussion with the, a couple builders, and we think it can be done without changing the roof line dramatically because it is fairly flat. But we don't want it to tie into the flashing, we want it to actually run into the roof line. So just wanted to clarify that. We are actually, and we did show some gutters as an alternative. A couple of the contractors have suggested, because we have water in our basement, a rock foundation, that we probably should be putting gutters on the whole house. So the question is, can we include that here tonight, or should we bring that back as a change later? Because it does make sense if we're going to try to prevent water in this area, we ought to fix the rest of it. So
I think if you don't have a plan and specifications and stuff yet, then you can bring that can be a administrative approval.
yeah, I know what the gutters will be. You know, what we're proposing is a K-style gutter.
Yeah.
Either in copper or a copper-colored aluminum gutter. He's suggesting that with the volume of gutters that we're going to put on, real copper is going to be extensively expensive. So he's suggesting, based on the fact that the neighbors all have, for the most part, a white K-style gutter, that we go with a white K-style gutter or a copper-colored K-style gutter. And I wanted to see if I could get the preference from the HTC as to whether they thought white that is very consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, or a copper-colored aluminum would be preferred.
Well, any thoughts? This is work session supposedly, so we can just throw things out.
I think with the, with the white trim and the white neighbors downspouts, that would make sense.
The white does kind of tend to disappear into the facade, so, you know, I'd be fine proposing white.
No problems.
That's fine. We can, well then, yes, we can certainly add that to the regulation or addition to the application, and then once you have specs and plans and everything, we'll just.
I mean, I have a drawing of the K-style gutter that we'd go with in the company, but I can get all the specifics. And
Yeah, well, we would, I
Put
think
it
we
into
want
the
a
package.
plan just actually showing on a drawing exactly where they're going and where the leaders are going
Yep.
and all of that.
yeah, can do the update on that.
Okay, thanks.
The other thing I noticed is in the package that we provided you, we didn't have any detail on the new deck. And so we actually went back and got some detail on the deck, and the material that we proposed is actually a composite. It's, let me just pull up the company. What did I? It looks like wood. It's called Wood Tech, I believe. So I've got that in the package, and obviously we need to update you all. Oh, here we go.
No, I just.
Actually, this package has the windows that we're proposing. It has that gutter. I don't know that I got one for everybody, but I might as well just let you see what
Thank you.
I'm looking at. The windows that we're talking about are made by Stafford Window Manufacturers, actually up in here in New Hampshire. And they will be wood framed windows with single pane glass, with, you know, single density glass in them. The style of the existing house for the most part.
That's it.
So that's to give you the detail on the deck. And then, you know, I talked about the windows, but I hadn't given you the manufacturer and the detail on the windows. That's the detail on the windows.
Okay.
I should have handed this out at the same time. I looked for portables that would match the existing front one. There are none to be had or found. So I found a company that actually manufactures portables, and this is similar to a couple in the neighborhood. Not nearly as fancy as the front ones, but I think it will match the style, if you will, of the neighborhood and surrounding buildings, so that's. And I'm learning all these words because prior to this, I wouldn't have known what a corbel was, so.
It's not, it's a core, it's a bracket.
Other than that, that's the things I want to talk about in the planning session, if you will, that we had changed and/or adjusted. So, I don't know if you had questions on the package.
Yep. Trying to get it.
So you do have some pictures of these salvaged doors.
Yes.
Okay, so if you'd like to just tell us where those are going or what your plan is.
Well, this would be the door going towards the back because it doesn't match the front door. And the top section actually has a swing-in door and a screen so that we can get some air into the room. But yet it has the raised beads around the flat panel trim. It's flat panels versus beveled panels. I was really looking for the same look as the front door, which is a flat panel, not a beveled panel. So that one we would put in the back, and then the other one, which needs a lot of restoration, we thought matched the front door a lot better. Again, with the long 2 light panels on the top, 2 panels down below. The only thing it doesn't have is the mail slot in the middle. The dimensions are very similar for both of those doors, and they're very similar to the front door, the existing front door. So hopefully you like the fact that we really did strive to cut, these are out of an 1870s house in Vermont that we were able to locate these.
Great.
So hopefully you like what we're trying to do. They're going to require a little bit of restoration work. And we talked to a builder actually today, and he's like, yeah, I can hang them and do all that other stuff. The only bad news was the hinges are wrong, so they have to completely be rehinged to the other side.
Yes.
To open the way we want. Those windows will not actually happen. That's going to be the Stafford window manufacturer. He will make windows like that. He will make them in a double hung, so we can take the top down or the bottom up, and with an exterior aluminum screen. But they will be all wood, and the specifications for those windows are in your packet. Have you ever worked with Stafford, or had?
I have heard of them, but I haven't worked with them.
He's probably the most flexible manufacturer of wood windows that, I've talked with many, and they're like, well, we do 27 inches, right? I need 24¼ inches. He said, we won't do it 20, I can do it down to the 16th of an inch, so that's pretty amazing for a builder of windows.
Great. All right.
Other questions?
It said aluminum screens, are those half screens?
I'm sorry?
The windows, it says aluminum screens. Are they half screens or full?
It's a full screen, so that we can do, because it's a double hung, we can do top down and bottom up. We could go to a single hung and put a half screen in if that's preferable, but I think that actually doesn't look as well as a full screen. Right now, the window there has a full screen, even though it's a single hung.
And these are for the windows on the rear?
Yep. Yeah, that's that little tiny window in the upper second floor.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, that's okay. So I,
And if you don't want aluminum, I probably could go with a thin fiberglass or something that's,
I'm just looking at these amazing corbels. I hate to lose those.
oh, we're not changing the ones on the front, they're staying.
Not the front, okay.
Oh, no, we're not touching the ones on the front. I could not, for the life of
Oh,
me,
you
find
couldn't
anything that
match- I see, you
matched
couldn't
them.
match them,
Or anyone willing to manufacture one, to be honest
Actually,
with you.
that makes, I think your choice makes sense since they would be more diminutive and simpler on the back.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to touch the ones on the front. The front ones stay, I love them, so.
yes, Martin?
I like where you're going, bits and pieces. It's like looking at a recipe. The ingredients look good. What's the meal going to be? we need to see what that door on the side's gonna be like. How the steps going up to the door, things like that. So we're not moving to a final hearing on this tonight, are we, a public hearing?
It's
like to.
what the option is. It's a work session / public hearing.
This is not ready for a public hearing.
So I guess I'd like to know when you say what they would look like. I mean, the door in the drawings, obviously, is not the door that we put in there. However, I'm not even quite sure how I would get those 1870 doors into current drawings.
Okay.
And as you looked at the previous ones that you were looking at, there were doors that you don't know what that door really looks like. You actually see the doors that we're going to install on the front and the back of this house. We actually own them. They're in my basement right now.
I need to see a documented elevation or rendering that shows what the doors will look like, what the elevation, what the entrance will look like, what the
Beyond
steps.
what's here,
You're
because it does match the dimensions of what's being shown right there on that picture. So I'm trying to understand I don't know what I would bring different, so I want to make sure I understand what I would bring different.
Okay, the brackets you're showing us, what do they look like on that elevation? What is the cap? What's going over top of the brackets? I can't project, we can't sit here and go, well, it's gonna kind of be like the front door, it's gonna kind of be like this. We're gonna use this, and, I can't do that. I'm not that imaginative. So I need the goods to support it.
I think if there's a way, is this the, are you doing this in SketchUp or something on your own?
I'm doing this in a computer drawing. I can't remember the name of it. Do you remember?
What, that's fine, but it's
yeah.
you. So,
Which would not give me the capability of doing that. So, I mean, if honestly, if that particular side door covering is what's hanging you up, we won't put it on. We'll forgo it and we'll stand in the rain to open and close the door,
Well, that's not acceptable either.
right? I mean, I will take it off of the plans and we will move on without it. Because I don't know how to actually draft that up based on what you're asking for. So, I mean, I can draw it up in a drawing if that would be acceptable, I guess, but it would be a hand drawing.
Even a hand-sketched drawing, just to kind of show what you're thinking about, to show like what the, sort of what the door, your salvage door kind of is going to look like, and what the brackets will look like with the hood. Yes, even a hand-sketched drawing is acceptable.
Because from a computer program, I've stretched my limits, I'll be honest with you.
Right, no, that's totally understandable because, you can't, like you said, you can't upload an image
Right.
unless you're really good at Photoshop.
Well,
But-
yeah,
So, yes, I think what we usually need for a public hearing, just like an actual approval for new construction especially, is just dimensioned drawings. So if you can hand sketch it and then just kind of show the dimensions of how tall it's going to be, the dimensions of the doorway, the dimensions of any windows that are going in, and then an approximation of how the new door hood, once you figure that out, is going to work with, and then put the brackets on there. So,
I
is that
will
something you can try and work on?
do my best.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes.
How many new windows are you putting on the building?
The one in the back that replaces so the one in the upper back
The upper
is
back,
is
sure?
currently an existing window. It's going to be half of that window, basically. And then the one on the side, which is the 5-pane
Transom?
transom, that's the windows we're putting on.
Those are the only two new windows.
Only 2 additions,
All the other windows will be
existing windows.
the existing windows.
Yep, not changed.
Okay, I guess I missed the scope. In the drawings, it's suggested that, in the verbiage, it seemed like you were talking about cost of foundation.
So under the current deck is obviously just on piers. We're going to dig that out, so we will put in a foundation
But just
under the
under the deck.
6 by 15 foot entryway.
But the current shed addition on the back of the building, sitting on a foundation, that remains?
That's not changing. No,
Didn't know that part. Thank you very much.
yeah, that's existing and will not be changed. The only thing changed on that portion of the building would be the roof would go from a flat roof to a pitched roof.
Okay, another question. Your side entry door that faces the street,
Yep.
the sketch, I guess we probably shouldn't look at it. It doesn't have the overhang on the doorway. It doesn't have corner boards on the clapboards. That's just all superfluous. You're not changing any of that.
No, no.
So the stairs that go from the driveway to this thing are open risers? Is that what you want?
That's what they are today. I don't know that we're going to change that unless you want to change that. Or you want to change that.
If that's what they are there and you're going to reuse those?
We don't need to reuse them, that's what I'm saying. The plan probably would be to put new ones there. Because we will put a landing there, because right now you couldn't open the door. You'd be standing on a stair to put the key in to open the door.
Sure.
So I think we
You're
show
going
a
to stretch
platform.
that out a little bit.
Yeah, we show a platform there.
How large is that platform?
Look right now.
So yeah, that's one of the things that probably should be
That's-
dimensioned on a,
It's 5 feet wide, and I believe, step back. It looks like, I can't see the actual details, but I think 2.5 feet, 5 by 2.5. So if you go to page 5,
Now, on the drawing, you show the roof of that side entry, extension, expansion. It seems to overhang quite a bit in the drawing. Is that your intention?
not an intention, just not being able to get the roof line to look exactly perfect in the thing, but
In the drawing, it looks like the underside of that overhang is angled. Is that your intention?
let's go back to, I think it's, no, that's right there. So, I don't know quite how this works, but we'll give it a shot. So this roof line here is a little bit inaccurate, I agree. This goes definitely further than, in this image, it looks further. I'll adjust the image by taking it from the front. It's just kind of a dynamic thing from when I moved it, or tilted it so you could see the side as well. From the front, you'll see that that's a traditional overhang, the same overhang as the rest of the house, which I can't tell you if it was 8 or 9 inches, whatever that was, as well as to the front. And then in this front, we would put, something very similar to what would be on the front here, but it will affect the roof line a little bit in order to do that. So yes, I will adjust this portion of the drawing to make it more accurate and more visual for you as far as what the new doors look like, what the covering would look like.
that's fine. I mean, I think, again, in even just a hand sketched drawing, just to show sort of dimensions of what it's going to be, the drawing doesn't have to be to scale or anything like that, but just as long as we have numbers so that we can approve that, and then when it's checked on, through the inspection department, it's all good and measurable. And I noticed the drawing that you have here, I don't know what page this is, Isaac, but I think just above this one, it's, if you can try and generate that image so that it's a little clearer,
Yeah,
because you can't.
the next time when I do this, I'm actually going to break this section here out
Okay,
so
That
that,
would
you have, it'll be clearer if I just take sections of
Right.
it instead of taking the whole thing. So I'll give you the whole thing. I'll see if I can get rid of the grid lines. I actually did get rid of the grid lines. I have a copy of that without the grid lines, and unfortunately, I did that after I put the package together.
that's fine. The grid lines are fine, that doesn't matter, but we can't, for the numbers didn't print out well enough on here for us to read. So
Yeah, I'll break it into smaller PDFs
Yeah.
that give you smaller sections that you can actually read the dimensions.
Okay. I think, I mean, from what we're all, I think from our questions, and people can stop me if I'm wrong, I think, again, we're all fine with the idea and the concept and, you know, your general plan. It's just the details that we need, so that we can make sure that it all is going to work out just fine.
So I had one other question, and I think that what you're planning looks like it makes a lot of sense in terms of entries and exits from your home. I'm struggling a little bit, and maybe it's because of the renderings you've provided with the aesthetics of the stairs to that, was the mudroom on the side, and then on the back, you're referring to it as a deck. It looks pretty small. I don't know that I'd call it a deck, but it's okay. But just in terms of its overall appearance as it relates to the house, the house's age, and the other elements that you're putting a lot of care into, maybe it's the program that you're using that's not really conveying what it's going to look like.
Yeah, the deck on the back really is about 4 feet by 6 feet. That's it. It's not to be a sitting deck. It's just an entry and exit deck. We don't intend to put furniture and a bunch of stuff up there.
Right, but in terms of the style of the railings and the treads and the piers that it sits on and all, is this the way it will look?
Yeah.
And that's going to be, I think you said the wood, what did you call it, the wood tracks?
Yeah, the wood treck would be the decking material. And then I've got a picture of what we're envisioned for the railing in there as well. It's a white railing. In the front, there won't be a wood cap. In the back, there'll be a wood cap. They actually call it a wood cap that matches the floor,
if you will. Is it a PVC or is it like a plastic?
It's a composite. It's not PVC. It's a composite material that looks, I mean, it looks, when you see the color pictures in the package, because that black and white doesn't do it justice, you think you were looking at wood.
Okay. All right.
By the construction company that you're working with, Stillman, by any chance, are they planning to do construction drawings that might help you in your presentation to us? Or are they just going to go with?
They use the same, one of the reasons we're looking at them is that they use the same drafting that I did. So I put the plan together, I sent it to them. I don't know that they've even updated it. They used all their construction planning off of
Okay.
the software that I put together, or that I used.
Okay.
But that was a good question. Because if they were doing something better, I would definitely bring it, but.
Well, they, you know, if they have the ability to show dimensions or anything like that from your plans, you know, if they can kind of spit out a drawing or any elevations using any numbers, that would be helpful. So maybe they know how to do that with the software.
Yeah, and again, I think a lot of the numbers are on there, but you can't see them because I've made it so small in putting it into the package that you can't see the measurements. So I'll make sure that it is something that you can
Okay.
see.
So, yes, Larry.
No, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to try and wrap up.
I think for me, part of the confusion actually is the computer rendition program you're using. Because even when you look at the dimensions, it's like the numbers are printed out in a dot matrix. And for me, it's almost impossible to read with contacts and glasses. So I mean, that would be what I would throw out. So like when you come back, just to reiterate what my fellow commissioners are saying, I think perhaps maybe like even that full frontal view of the house, I know it's going to have trim boards, they're not there. So for me, a lot of the confusion has to do with this software package. The other thing I would throw out, I was looking at how much you're putting into this, and you're spending a lot of money for the amount of renovation you're doing.
That's why we have the intent and already have started to go out to bid for
Yeah,
it. Because
and
Stillman
I
is
would just,
definitely
I would just throw
expensive.
this out. I mean, I don't know how the board would feel about this, but I noticed like on your specs, you're saying, for the siding, clear cedar, okay? As opposed to like, say, not finger jointed, but primed pine. So there's, I mean,
There are dollars that can be saved in there because it's going
yeah,
to be
so
painted
I don't
anyhow.
know if that's something like you might want to, when you come back, say, hey, if I use primed pine, it's going to be this much. If I use cedar, it's this much. Do you care which I use, as long as it's a solid wood product? But I looked at what you're doing and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to help you here. Just by,
Yeah, our first contractor came back with a Cadillac. There's no doubt about that.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, so I'm just going to try and recap a little bit here. So we can postpone this or just postpone the public hearing part till next month, if that works for you, to get everything together. So if you can work on, obviously, the plan drawings, blowing those up and printing them out more legibly, and then elevation drawings. I think part of what's wrong with this software is that you've got all these different angles and then it just gets wonky. So if you can do, front, side, and rear elevation sketches so that it's all straight, and try and do, we are fine. We do not have to have professional drawings, but just so that they're approximate and in what they look like, and then have actual numbers on them so that we.
And I will try to focus on the addition, if you will, so that that's
Yes.
what the focus is. I mean, I'll try to give you the whole facade, but then I'll try to narrow in on the addition so that you got a lot of
Right.
better visibility on that.
Yes.
I think the software may be able to do that.
Yes.
But professional drawings would be appreciated if you could have them.
Yeah, I don't think we could have them in the time frame. We did talk to a couple people, and they're talking about 7 months from now, they might be able to do something for us. And this is not the size of a project that we want to spend 7 months with an architectural firm. Are waiting for an architectural firm to come up with drawings. And then,
So,
Unfortunately.
all right. Do you have any other questions for us?
I don't. Any other questions?
All right.
My
It all
neighbor-
looks
My
good.
butter left because he
Yeah.
was,
I think it all looks good. We just need those,
okay.
better documentation.
Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right.
I'll make a motion to continue this work session until next month.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye?
Any opposed? All right. Chair votes aye.
It
Thank
can
you.
be a work session, public
It'll
hearing,
still be
Joe?
the work session public hearing.
Okay, good,
Let's continue it on. All right.
if they're ready.
Thank you. So we'll see you
That
next month.
keeps me going in the right direction. I appreciate it.
Yes. All right. Our next one is public hearing number 2. It is another work session public hearing requested by JP Property Partners, LLC, owner for property located at 164 Daniel Street, wherein permission is requested to allow new construction to an existing structure, construct new dormers, and exterior renovations to an existing structure, replace windows, doors, siding, and remove existing chimneys and rebuild faux chimneys, as per plans on file in the Planning Department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 106 as Lot 59 and lies within the Character District 4, Downtown Overlay and Historic Districts. Hello.
Good evening. Mark Giannetti from Portsmouth Architects. I'm joined with one of the two co-applicants, Todd Hudson. I don't know, this is being a work session, the first time you're seeing it. I don't know if you want to...
Do you want, we're happy to come down if you would like, if that's easier.
Sure, I mean, we can go over the project and have a discussion.
All right, so we'll go down. All right.
I'm not being standoffish. I have a guide dog puppy in training underneath the desk. And she's asleep. You know what they say about sleeping dogs?
What kind of dog?
Let them lie. It's a 4-month-old black lab.
You're doing really well.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Terrific.
Lead us through.
Yeah. So we'll start on the cover page here. I mean, as you mentioned, we're looking to fully renovate the existing building. It's been a two-family or a duplex since it was built, approximately 1880, 2.5-story. So the massing of the building hasn't really changed much over the course of it, and we're really not looking to make many changes to the existing massing except for some proposed dormers on the third floor, which we can look at in a little bit. So right now on the cover sheet, we've got the existing building. As you'll see, it's got vinyl siding, vinyl windows, vinyl shutters.
Aluminum siding, actually, I think.
Some aluminum, okay.
It's pretty gross.
It's the triple clap window, isn't that just vinyl?
I don't know. Maybe
think
you're right, but I'll put my fingers on it.
Yeah, I think it's vinyl siding. The trim is aluminum
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
around the windows and doors. And then it has a fairly new asphalt roof, which we're looking to actually maintain. The middle picture here, you can see what we got from the Athenaeum. So you can see it roughly around 1825 when there was a gas station in front there.
1925.
Oh, what did I say? 18? Yes, 1925. No cars in 1825. Again, massing, kind of the opening and stuff hasn't really changed since then either. Moving on, sheet A1 are more additional existing conditions. When we get to the site plan next, you can see kind of where it's located. It's in an interesting location. It abuts the Warner House. And then the church actually has parking on two sides, and the lot is actually landlocked. So there's a current easement over over the parking lot for the church to gain access. You'll see kind of in the bottom middle photo there's also a little shed garden building with a raised deck. So the lot really is covered almost 100% with impervious between the deck, the outbuilding, and the asphalt.
Is the outbuilding remaining?
Well, that's one of the things we want to talk about during the work session. We've talked about removing it altogether, replacing with a smaller shed, and then like a hardscaped patio area for the occupants to have an outdoor space.
What is its use or imagined current and expected?
Current use was the gentleman who retired, he liked to do woodworking there. Future use would be phenomenal not to be there, I think would be our intentions, and have a little green space out there for the occupants, which I think would look much better than what's currently there.
Yeah, as you'll see in the upper photo, upper middle, there's a car there. That's on the church parking lot. There's really only 2 feet between the back of the building and the property line, and you get a little bit more, maybe 3 or 4 feet at most, where you bump up against the parking spots. So it's fairly tight on 3 sides without a lot of space. So that's really the only opportunity to have an outdoor green space is in the front. Moving on to A2, this is the site plan. So as I was mentioning, you've got the larger dark hatched rectangle. That's the existing footprint, which would be maintained as is. We've got the outbuilding in the front there, the garden shed, and kind of the triangle shape just to the right of that is the existing deck that's actually raised up about 1.5 feet. We bought the Warner House. There's currently a fence along that property line that exists, and we're proposing a new 6-foot-high wooden fence that would basically be the other 2 sides of the lot, so the back parking lot and then also along the driveway easement between the driveway and their parking lot. It gives us the 2 parking spots that we require and kind of already exist. And then we're proposing, you can see condensers, which you'll see in the elevations later. We've got 2 condensers, 1 for each unit.
Is there even room for those?
Not on the, yes, there is room only because they have the easement for the driveway.
Got it.
Otherwise, no.
Is that a conditional use for the easement? Is that an appropriate use? I mean,
Well, it's a no,
the reason I mentioned that is it blocks it from any other use, passage.
right. So my understanding is it's a no-build easement that they have, so basically no one can use it, or the church can't use it to build, if they wanted to expand their property in some other manner besides parking. So
Okay.
that
Just
that allows us,
trying to make it all work.
understandable. Moving on to A3, these are the existing elevations. The existing south elevation, it has a fairly symmetrical layout. It is off-center as it's shown. The left unit is slightly smaller than the right unit, but otherwise, the pattern of window openings is as shown there. We're not planning on changing, or we're actually using the front that south front elevation to help drive window sizes. For the most part, they're all very similar. There are a few unique spots where they're slightly smaller on the back, also on the east elevation. And then there's some sort of newer window they have on the north elevation that was, put in over the years. And that's, the former kitchen area. Again, everything's kind of vinyl, aluminum, the windows, siding, everything else. So looking to replace all that with new wood, which we'll get into on the next sheet. So on A4, we've got our proposed elevations. Again, we're not changing window openings that much. We're using the window sizes that are on the south elevation to help drive any changes that we're having on the east and west elevation, as well as the north elevation. So overall, the openings don't really change as far as the number of openings or the total percentage of openings versus siding. You'll see on the west elevation and the east elevation, we do have two smaller windows, type C. Those are where there's a powder room. So we had opted for a smaller window. The A and the B windows are the same size. The difference being that the B window is a casement that we're using for egress out of bedrooms. They'll be mimicked to look like double hung so that they have the same appearance as best we can. And then we've got the proposed dormers for the third floor. So we got 2 dormers in the front and 2 dormers in the back. They're approximately 5 feet wide, again with the same A-type window, double hung. And we're matching, we're matching, well, approximately matching the roof pitch of the existing gable. We're replacing all of the exterior materials, planning on doing everything out of wood clapboards, wood trim, wood sills, wood fascias, basically to bring it back to where it was. We're calling out aluminum gutters on here. We do have one change that we're going to do copper gutters since we submitted this. Again, on the east elevation, we've got utilities that are existing, electrical as well as gas, and then we're proposing 2 condensers that will have screening that you'll see in the last page an example of. We do lose on the north elevation, we are deleting the 2 doors that were going out the back. So again, reducing some of the openings and making the windows slightly larger.
Is that okay for egress? I mean,
Yep.
the windows, you're covered.
We're covered. We only need 1 door technically anyways, and then we'll have the egress windows out of the bedrooms. Moving on from there, we've got on sheet A5, we've got window types and door types, so this gives you the sizes, elevations. The front doors we're replacing with a wood door that are basically 4 panels. They'll have 2 upper lights. And then the windows themselves are going to be, we're proposing the Marvin Elevate windows. So these are aluminum clad windows. We've used these successfully in a number of locations. Even though it's not shown in the image here, the casement windows will have the grills as we've shown up in the window type schedules, type B and C. They'll have the grills as well as the simulated check rail. Oops, excuse me. And everyone out there listening. Last sheet, A6. We've got some of our profiles for the trim. We've got a profile for the rake. We don't know exactly what's there. We know that the aluminum trim that's there now basically is at an angle, so we're assuming there's some sort of cove or something under there. We'll hope to expose that soon and maybe even be able to reuse it, but for now, we're just kind of giving you an outline of what we are proposing, and we'll try to see what's there once more demo gets done.
To that end, we're reviewing this for wood clapboard replacement and obviously corner boards and window trim, door trim, eaves and soffits. All of that stuff is hidden at the moment. Your intent, at least it sounds like, is to make that all new.
Yep.
If that's the case, then you could, wouldn't it make sense to sort of approve the concept of that and hold the actual dimensioning of these things in abeyance until you actually get them exposed and then come back for a wrap-up dimension party? Does that make sense? It's
I like a
tough.
dimension party.
I knew you were that kind of guy.
I mean, yeah, if that is, depending on how this goes, if that's, an admin approval for that piece or something, or a partial approval for some of the stuff that has longer lead times like windows and siding and stuff. I will say we have torn back some of the siding. We know that none of the clapboards, at least in the area we looked, exist. It was just the old sheathing, the old board sheathing that's there under the vinyl and the insulation that was put on.
This place does seem like it's had a bit of a history. I've always wondered about what the asymmetry that I felt looking at the front of it was until your drawing, which obviously is very accurate, thank you very much. And I can see that this actually had a facade with 3 windows in the second floor and 1 door. And when you do that, all of a sudden the center window and the door line up, and you realize that this was made into a duplex. And that is the source of its asymmetry. Very cute, very cute.
It's interesting, we were blown away when we started getting in there and moving some things around, that the foundation was legitimately built with the stone actually offset like that. And we thought maybe that it had been done afterward, and maybe they slid something over because someone did, no, it was the foundation literally sits directly on that offset, which was
Very cool.
surprised us as well too. Yeah, it's super interesting. And the family who had been there actually for 90 years was on the smallest side the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, and had a set of stairs that I can't stand up. I don't think anyone over 5 feet could maybe stood up.
Contractor found it really fun way up those stairs with his bald head multiple times. We went home. We had to bring Band-Aids for him a few times.
It was unique.
And the chimneys?
The chimneys, so right now they're just the approximately 16 by 16. They're fairly small square chimneys, just used for the furnace and any previous stoves or something. So the plan is to remove them and then replicate them from the roof line up.
So not connected to any fireplaces or anything like
No,
that?
there was never any, we've never seen any example of any fireplaces previously in the building.
Okay.
Like I said, they were used for like stoves.
I like the symmetry of what you've done on A4 with the windows. When you look at the west and east elevations. Just a quick question. Is it just my eyes, but looking at circle number 3, the south elevation, and then compared to the existing, are the windows a different size, or is it just the fact that there's no shutters that it's just visually throwing me off?
Those
a
are
little
the
bit?
same size.
Same size?
Yep.
Okay.
And again, we use that same size and proportion for the rest of the openings.
And one other thing, the existing pictures, that front porch overhang is ginormous. In the 1925 picture, it's something much smaller.
And flat.
Yeah. I mean, are you gonna keep that huge?
So the intent is that we would leave the gable, we basically leave it as it is, replace any of the aluminum and vinyl with wood trim. And there's actually 3 brackets that we feel are original to the building that are hard to see.
I see them, yeah.
Those would all remain as well, and those would get restored, painted.
Actually, by your 1925 photo, looks like they are original.
Yeah, those were in that photo. So someone changed the roof of that overhang at some point.
I made it so that it actually protected you from rain.
Right.
Is there anything actually wrong with the chimneys? Are they compromised? Are they crumbling? Are they falling apart? Or are they in reasonable condition?
I believe that they're in reasonable condition from what I can tell. I can only see them from the attic. But again, right now they're kind of in the middle of the space, and they're only being used for the furnaces at this point. And I didn't mention it earlier, it's going to stay a duplex. They're basically 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. So there's like a living room on the ground floor and a bedroom on the second floor and a bedroom on the third floor.
There's also some fancy toilets in the basement too.
Existing ones. I don't think we're keeping them.
Trying to get a lot.
Not the plan.
How tied are you to the design of the condenser screening?
Not tied to it at all.
Okay. Could we make it something a little less modern?
Yep.
Thank you.
When you say less modern, more like looking like a fence or
We're open to suggestions on that one.
And
lattice?
Isaac has a whole picture gallery of things that we've approved before, so why don't you take a look at those and see if you like something?
Can I? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I like everything that you're doing. Some very positive changes, excellent. I think your dormers are borderline a little quirky, but I don't think it's a showstopper. It would be nice if the front face of the dormer was just a slightly back, not falling exactly on the exterior wall. But again, not a deal killer. So I think everything here is just very well done, and seems like you own Daniel Street.
we're trying to. Yes.
What are you doing the Mackin
I guess it's just been good word of mouth. So.
Thank you very much. I also have an issue with the gable dormers. They're a little bit heavy looking, maybe not in absolute scale to the roof, but compared to what we think of as gable dormers on residences. I also agree, I think they come down too far on the roof, which, I mean, it's about floor space, I guess, at a certain point, but there's another shingle would make it live a little bit more comfortably. I think there's too much facade face on the wall for the dormer. Either that means that the window's too small or the actual dormer itself is too large. I can't imagine putting a larger window there, so it does sort of suggest that there's a couple of inches that could come out of that. I know that we can no longer build the 18th century dormer, and my head is there, pardon me, but still, there's got to be some place between the two, I think.
I mean, we can certainly pull it back, from the front wall. That's not an issue.
Make it shorter, it might help. Okay, I also, I don't know where anybody else is, but I think the entry hood is enormous. I'm surprised that it hasn't fallen, but I mean, it's enormous. I got that it's there, and you certainly have every right to clean it up, and that will probably help in some respects, but if there was something, like a Porsche post truck that broke down in the front yard or something like that. And our next question is the rear doors. You thinking of putting any sort of rain hood over those?
The rear doors are going away.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. Again, we've got limited space back there, really only 2 feet
Okay.
to the property line,
Understood.
and we don't necessarily need them.
Thank you.
I think you actually mentioned this, so you don't need to rear even for egress as a multifamily dwelling. Okay.
They each have their own door.
Okay. The other thing that was brought up by one of my fellows in an earlier session, I think it was Margot perhaps, talking about the lack of longevity of faux chimneys. And me, myself, liking the original chimney. I think it's not a deal breaker, but I think if you could leave your original chimney there, then it also gives whoever is in that unit, you could even, equip it somehow where persons could have a working wood stove or a working propane stove, if you line the chimneys with a stainless steel liner. So I think I mean, I'm not an architect and I'm certainly not a realtor, but I think if you have the ability of a real working chimney, it probably does more for the bottom line of your property and maintains the historic nature of the building versus a faux chimney, which in 10 years is gonna leak.
Yeah.
That's my sales pitch.
I mean, I think we could, something certainly we can look at and consider. I mean, just from the current programming and the chimney itself, it's in the middle of the space, so it doesn't work programmatically as well. And then also, just being the type of chimney that it is, the size and everything, it would be hard, I think, to really utilize it for something else than what it is.
I think, as you know, we've just started seeing a lot of the faux chimneys that we've allowed over the past 10 years or so are starting to leak and fall apart, and it's almost not worth it.
It leaves you with a really sinking feeling.
Yeah.
Is that just poor design and product by that time when they were starting to do it, or is it?
Who knows? Your call.
Yeah. No,
We
it's
didn't
totally fair.
spec, any of the materials.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And we're leaving it to the professionals to just,
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, these are just not permanently really constructed things. They're just kind of brick-lined boxes on a roof, which just doesn't have the longevity of an actual masonry,
Yeah, and I can't speak for all of them. I know I have been in front of you guys for some of the repair and replacement of some of those, and a lot of it's come down to, just how it was constructed, I guess.
Right.
Is what I've seen so far.
And it may just be that because it's kind of this new idea of faux chimneys, relatively new, that nobody has figured out the proper, higher quality construction method of it.
Yep.
And so it's not to say that all of them are falling apart, but a lot of them are.
Well, and I think it's also our environment here because, we're extreme New England, so you got
wind,
freezing, thawing, salt air. I was doing some clapboard repair and I dropped a pair of needle nose pliers somewhere around the house. And I found them about a week and a half later and they were that rusted from the corrosive air in just a week and a half. I had to, that's it.
Do they have to pierce the roof? Does the
No, we
faux
can get
chimney
rid
have
of
to?
No,
pierce
you
the
don't
roof?
want it to pierce,
No, you don't
you
want
want it
it
to
to
sit
I
on
would
top.
think if it's not piercing the roof,
It would just be
Gotta be
framing
some way to-
on top of the roof sheathing kind of up.
Right, and so it may be who knows, it's the constructability of putting that on a roof but not in the roof, and
That shouldn't be an issue, though. I mean, we're all dealing with the same product that's there. It's wood and brick. So the fact that some of these it would be really interesting to, quite frankly, see that and sort of understand what the data and metrics behind that are, because you guys are really only going to see the problems of a lot of those, right? So, let's say you say you've seen 10 of them, or even 30 that have, how many were actually done in town, and how many brick ones were done that need the same thing, right? I mean, I can't imagine we can't do a faux that would stay well done. I just don't. I'd love to see the ones that are failing, quite frankly, just to see what they're doing now. Very interesting, just in general.
the problem is by the time we see them, they've been tried to be repaired 2 or 3 times. And so there's little way to be able to tell what's going on. One of the things that you have to deal with is even if you do somehow suspend this thing over the roof, it's a closed box that they're building, and a closed, unventilated box on the top of a building exposed to all of the weather and the climatic conditions of cooling and heating and moisture content. It was going to implode on the inside. And it always has and the truth is to build these things, you have to connect them to something. So there's always some kind of a connection to the roof, which means that the roofing material has to stop on the side and then somehow flash into a thing that we have never actually made flashing for, something that to flash a tile. It's a tough place. I love this whole story. I'm against them, and yet I built 2 faux chimneys on the William Pitt Tavern. But we put up steel frames up into the attic and then built from the attic up through the roof a real chimney, just setting on a steel frame. We were trying to cut down on cost and not cut down on floor space, you know? But but that's a real brick chimney setting on a frame inside. It behaves like a real brick chimney.
I've seen that done once before. Somebody wanted a center chimney colonial.
Sure.
It was not.
Sure.
And it's very ingenious, but
Sure.
because it's solid brick, it's not gonna fall apart necessarily in 10 years. It's gonna be there. It's solid brick.
In the Fernald House behind Richardson's Market on Court Street, there's a two-chimney house, and one of the chimneys is not in the same dimension as the other, and they built a wooden trestle and brought the chimney up through the floor in the attic and then marched the whole chimney brick by brick over the the wooden trestle and then up through the roof. So on the outside, it looks beautifully symmetrical, and otherwise it's not. All
So
kinds of things, some work.
So you haven't given us the floor plan, so we can't guess as to what the program it looks like upstairs. But in my own experience, and Ann Whitney in the back can attest to this, sometimes a structural obstacle can actually be used to enhance your interior design. So I would encourage a little bit of creative thinking in between now and the next time you come back to us. It could be that there's a way to use the chimneys in an architectural way on the inside that, enhances, whether it's a nook, whether it's, Ann and I took the framework that the supports needed to be here, and it was a perfect place to put the bed in between. But it just required me to tell Ann that it was okay to have this nook, but it worked. And so sometimes you can actually make the programming enhanced by the problem that you've got. The only other question I had was regarding the entry awning. Is there any historic evidence, either in pictures or physically, that there might have been some other support pillars or something in the front that balance the weight and the depth of that overhang?
Yeah, so no, the only thing we have is the picture on the cover sheet from 1925, which shows obviously a much smaller one like we were talking about with the brackets that are there now. And they had a smaller flat overhang.
Okay.
So no, unfortunately there weren't many photos of this area that we could come across. I mean, the only other one we have is the 1980s one that the Portsmouth Advocates had done, which basically the form hadn't changed. It was all asphalt siding at that point. That was about it. But that shape was already there for that entryway.
Personally, I wouldn't be opposed to you all deciding to take this back a step in time.
What does that mean?
Oh, to get rid of the peaked top that
Make
you
it
have right
something
now and go back to
smaller,
the
maybe
smaller
flat.
flat one. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, as well as maybe we do faux chimneys. The design in terms of the interior, I think if we're going to talk about that to some degree, is that something we could go over right now?
You can, it's not in our purview, we really only can judge and, talk about the exterior. Sometimes we're given the interior floor plans just so that we understand why windows are being moved or something like that.
Okay.
But we have no purview over interior and layout.
Okay. But that still was kind of one of the things brought up in the discussion current. So it makes no sense to speak on that. Is that
You
kind of
can,
where it's?
if it helps to, for
I
us
mean,
to understand.
There's really not a huge way, like in the way the house was currently made, it was very hard to even move around on this first floor with what was down there. The chimney itself would make a modern first floor be pretty challenging in terms of adding like seating areas for eating. You'd basically be sort of eating in your living room and in your standing up in your kitchen. No real room for potential little island or anything like that. And I think that was probably the most restrictive piece of what we're looking at for the floor plan.
It is very centered. I mean, as you can see in the image on the cover sheet, it's basically right on the ridge line. And then it's basically centered within each unit, plan-wise. So
Well, you've heard the concerns.
Yep.
Any other questions or topics on this? So we're still in a work session part. Do you want to just continue this to next month to answer some of these things, or do you want us to, I mean, I think a lot of the plan, everybody seems to be supportive of. Certainly the material changes, yes, we'd love to see you do a little bit more investigation and then come back, and if there's anything there, then either replicate that or leave it.
Right, I guess a few things I wrote down just as we were having a discussion, with, the AC screening, something else there. Verifying trim sizes the best we can once some more demos done. Maybe pulling back the dormer, the face of the dormer, and maybe looking at the size of the width.
And a little, something about the property after, if you do remove the small building there, what is your intent that to look like?
Yes, we would certainly want to come back afterwards for that, or later, or not.
Do you have any idea the age of that thing? It doesn't look very old.
No, this is, I don't know if anyone looked at the file for this, but it is a very thin file on this property. To figure, I haven't seen anything like that in the 13 years I've been working in town. It's, there's not much to figure out. It would be great to look at any of that, but there's not. I don't even think there's a permit for the gas heater and everything right now.
Yeah, and that outbuilding itself doesn't show up in any like the old fire maps or anything, so it hasn't been there that long.
It's just out of curiosity, is it plumbed, is it, no?
Power.
Just power?
Yeah, there's a propane heater or a gas heater, a natural gas heater in it, so that came in whenever natural gas was put there. But
So I don't know. I mean, I guess it would be nice if we could get a partial approval for some of the longer lead time items, things like windows could get ordered, things like doors, and then we could come back for some of these modifications, and will also give us time to look at trim sizes, things like that.
We can
How do we do that?
do a sort of bifurcated approval or
Yeah.
general approval, but we would just want to stipulate what you come back for,
Right.
the elements that you come back for. So let's close the,
sorry, is it possible?
Close the work session?
close the work session, move it to a public hearing,
A bunch of the things they have right here. If that
and
makes this-
Yeah, I guess, is there a way that we can verbally agree to some of these? I don't know. I guess some of them are going to be stipulations that we need to show you regardless, like
Right.
the trim sizes, the screening, that's easy.
Just declare they're all stipulations. That way it's not a partial approval, it's just a approval with stipulations.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
it would just be, yes, a lot of stipulations of what you're coming back to us with. Okay, so can I get a motion to close the close the work session
So moved.
part of this?
Seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, chair votes aye. Okay, so opening up the public hearing part of this, if you can present what you would like for us to approve, and we'll try and figure out the list of stipulations that you want to follow up on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so the project would be as described, removing, replacing siding, windows, doors. I don't know how much detail you want me to go in for the public work session. So the list of stipulations that we would be looking for, we're suggesting would be the AC unit screening, verifying trim sizes, dormer sizes as far as the location of it and the width of it. And then the faux chimney. I think that was it. Well, that's what I had in my notes. Oh, and then of course the outbuilding.
Yes.
Did you mention
The other one
the
taking
front?
down the front to the
Yeah,
flat.
the front.
Yeah, which I guess that wouldn't be a stipulation except for, or I guess it would be, so we could show you what that might look like. But yes, there would be rebuilding and reducing the size of the front overhang.
Yes. Okay.
Dimensions on clapboarding and trim.
Yeah, if anything is found, I guess, just take pictures of it, and we would like to see that.
Just want to be on
replicated.
board.
Right, hopefully there's some, window trim underneath the
Aluminum.
aluminum.
Yeah, we think there's at least the flat stock,
Right,
but there were no evidence, at least that we've seen so far, of like, was there a back bend or anything?
There's just nothing so hugely important about this building in that it sets between the church and the Warner House, and doesn't date to either, but it still could be a good neighbor, and it once was. Yeah.
and, okay, so is there anything else that anybody would like to see?
I think we've covered
Okay.
everything.
I've got my list. I'm good.
Yes, I think that, and everything else, all of the wooden door selections, the lighting is fine, the fence, all of these things are fine as part of this current approval. Great. I'm gonna open it up to the public unless anybody has any more questions. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to, for, or against this application? Anybody
Run
online?
them down.
Nope.
Okay, great. Public hearing's closed. I'll wait for a motion to try and capture all of that, or you can just say as presented.
And we'll go back and look at YouTube later?
Yeah. Isaac's taking good notes, and you just presented a nice list of things that you will return to us for.
So I'm sorry, could I just ask for a clarification on the chimneys? Is one of the stipulations that the faux chimney design will come back in detail and we'll decide on it at that point? Or are we approving removal of the chimneys at this time?
It's one of the things that is still being,
Okay, great, thank you. It's a little harder to hear up here.
Yes, sorry. Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve with the stipulations as presented. Maybe I should go through them. The screening of the mechanicals, the condensers, the siding as a stipulation, the trim, additionally the covering over the front entrance, the consideration of the faux chimneys, and the configuration of the dormers. I think I've covered everything.
And the outbuilding.
disposition of the shed.
yes.
Yes, and that, and consideration of how the shed is going to be handled.
If that's part of this, if you guys want to leave that and come back later, that's fine. All right, can I have a second? Great. Do you have, thank you, findings of fact?
Yes, I believe it preserves the integrity of the district and is consistent with the special and defining characters of the surrounding properties.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Some more details.
You understand that we have a partial approval thing, that it's a third rail,
Yeah,
and
So-
we're close to it.
this is better,
Yeah,
but yes.
we'll get you the additional details.
Good, thank you.
All right, great. All right, we can all go back up. Looks like.
Well done, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right.
Won't hit her.
Next. Next is public hearing number 3. It's a public hearing requested by Laurentic Revocable Trust, owner, from property located at 209 Marcy Street, wherein permission is requested to allow new construction to an existing structure construct a full second-story addition and one-story front and side additions as per plans on file in the planning department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 2 and lies within the General Residence B and Historic Districts.
Good evening. Ann Whitney, architect for the project. So we're before you for 2 work sessions, and then we had to get a zoning variance, so now we're here for the final. This first sheet just shows some of the context on Marcy Street from the south side. Looking south and then looking down Gate Street, where you can see that it's predominantly 2-story structures along this edge. It also shows sort of the figure ground of how buildings are oriented on Gate Street. This is an unusual property in that it actually has a lot more land around it than, most of the properties on Gate Street and Marcy are compromised on 1 or 2 setbacks, and this one has some room. Second page just shows some historical maps. That lower left photo is the structure that's still there, and then just above that, there was a similar structure, which is the Margison House, which is now on the corner of Marcy and State Street, and that was moved from the site. And then this small structure was constructed afterwards. It's kind of a pretty basic little structure. It was built by the property next door as kind of just a simple rental property. Go to the site plan. The 2 additions, the one on the front is sort of incorporating a little better an entry porch and adding a little bit of space on that the dining area on that right side corner. The one on Gate Street is going to allow, they both have a porch and living space. The one on the Gate Street has a small porch and then enters into a mudroom, and that's situated so we don't have to do major renovations inside the house to accommodate either of these small additions. Go to the next sheet. We've got the photo of the existing front elevation with the addition that was added on the left side. That's staying as is. And then you see we're bringing this up into a 5-bay gabled structure. The additions are going to be hip roofed. The current entry from the main parking is on Marcy Street, and there's a long brick walkway up to that side. So now you're going to be coming up a set of stairs that'll be rebuilt similar to the stairs that are there, but come in under a porch, and then that transitions to a living space on the inside. The little plan below, there were some funny things done to this house, and the stair had been turned, and in order to simplify the interior, we're going to be bringing the stair down straight again, and it's really tight, so I've got a little bit of a bump out where that front door is, a 2-foot bump out to create a little bit of maneuverability, but it'll be kind of hidden behind the under the roof. Next page shows the Gate Street on the upper right side with hip roofs and gutters. Shows the porch. And on the other side, it's hard to see, we're making a couple of window changes. You can actually see that little bump out for the front door from that side. And then on the back of the little 1-story addition, there's currently a fenced enclosure for condenser heat pump, and we're just going to be expanding that because we'll probably be adding one more heat pump on that side. Last page shows that this is actually the rear elevation, and shows the window changes there. The smaller windows are casements that are in bathrooms or closets. And then the two small windows on the left-hand side are the existing kitchen windows, which will remain. And we're just shifting location of the door that's there and adding a small awning window on that side. You can see the photos, what it looks like now. We're basically, the eave line is only about a foot higher than the current eave line of the house. But the overall structure is, the ridge of the roof is 7 feet higher than the existing one-story. Going to be keeping fairly simple roof trim. On the upper one, we'll be doing rake board, which will cover a gutter. So there'll be not much of an overhang on the front side, and the gutter will go between the rake boards. And then again, on the lower roofs are hip with wrapping a gutter around. The landing and steps are going to be wood with some skirting under the stairways. The last page just shows the door choices and windows. I'm going to be using Elevate, Marvin Elevate, single, it's a fiberglass window, simulated divided light showing. So, do we have any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
The makeup of the Simpson door, that's a fiberglass door, isn't it?
The Simpson, the front door is a wood door,
It's solid wood?
solid wood,
Okay.
yes. And the
Very good.
side door, because it's a little more exposed, that's a Therma-Tru fiberglass. It's under the porch, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
It'll be painted. They always show them as bright, but
Very good.
Any other questions? Yes, Larry?
Just to refresh my memory, because it's been a couple months, the hip roof bump out on the right side, first floor. So the reason for that is to keep, or rather to make what is the porch landing now functional living space, is that correct?
yeah, if you go to that shows the Gate Street, the next sheet after this one.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you look at that elevation, where the little window that is in the porch, that's where the doorway is now into the kitchen. So it kind of, you enter right into the middle of the kitchen. So by putting a window there and having the entrance go from the east side of Gate Street, allows for a small mudroom and then access to the house so we can have a much more functional kitchen without having a
Well,
doorway.
I don't mean to bump out on the end, I mean to bump out on the front.
Oh, on the front.
The one on the front. The one on the end, I understand.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
What was your question on the one on the front?
So the reason that have the bump out on the front is currently you walk up the steps left to right, and then you've got that landing there where you would sit a chair or something. So the reason to close that off and have that as a bump out is because on the inside it must make the room bigger, I guess. Is that the reason for it? Or?
Yeah, there's only one set of stairs, and they're coming from, the parking off to the left on Marcy
Okay.
Street. And now it's just a deck that's, but also they would like, we'd like to correct the stairway's really awkward in there, and it takes up a huge amount because it turns and it's got winders, and we want to be able to bring the existing stair straight down, and the extra 2 feet just gives some elbow room. And what I wanted to do was sort of have more of an entry with a roof over it, and then the addition, which runs to the edge, would just be adding some living space to the existing dining room.
Okay. And then 2 more questions. So first one, the stairs can't come straight out because of the slope of the lot going down to the street. Is that correct? Or
And also, there's, if you go back to the site plan, there's pretty extensive hardscape, and
Yeah.
it's also a really tight part of the street there, very narrow and hazardous. So right now, the parking is on that left side. There are 2 parking spaces, and then there's a brick walkway that comes up And that's how you're accessing that.
And then lastly, even though it's probably not a purview-related question, except that it would change your exterior, you just mentioned about the stairs to gain space, the additional 2 feet. So it's a conventional stairway on the inside, but if you had something like a captain's stairway, like up four, landing, left 90 degrees, up 4, landing, left 90 degrees, that would save you some space too.
Well, right now, the stairway comes down, has a landing, and then a couple of winders, and then goes into the dining room. And to completely reconfigure that, we would really compromise to do a round stair like that. What's happening? It's not that big a footprint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for explaining. I was trying to wrap
So
my brain
basically,
around it, so thanks.
we could bring it right down, but there's only like maybe 28 inches from the end of the stair to where the door is. So doing that small bump out, it's just going to make it a lot more comfortable to access.
No, I
Yep.
get it. I was just looking
Yep.
at trying to figure it out. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, yeah, I mean, we've seen this, we've seen you several times, so, I think it's all very straightforward, and thank you for making a very clear package here. If there are no other questions, I'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to, for, or against this?
Good evening. My name is David Adams. I live at 210 Gate Street. This doesn't make any sense to me. It appears to me that the rationale for this addition to this house is to make it similar to other two-story buildings along Marcy and Gates and whatnot in the area. And yet, it has two elements that I don't see anywhere else, and I think that they're major elements. One is something that looks, not saying I know what it is, but looks like a closed-in front porch, which I don't know is replicated anywhere. There may be a Queen Anne house on Pickering that has a closed-in front porch on it. I think that's the only one within a quarter of a mile, anyway. And it's also being spec'd, at least, unless I'm confused, it's being spec'd as being shingled on the exterior. And I don't know of many, I don't say any, but I can't think of a shingled front facade of a two-story building in the South End. And I think that both of those things together, to me, if I had a choice, it would really be an end for the project. Thank you very much for consideration.
Anyone else from the public? Anyone online? Okay.
Speak to that a little bit. We are not necessarily going to be doing the entire new structure. We'd probably be reclabboarding that and probably leave the one-story bump out. That not really intending to have this be a shingled structure. It'd be clapboards 4 inches to weather or thereabouts.
Okay, great. Is this something that you would like to amend? Because in your drawings, you have errors to both the main body and the side addition as Eastern white cedar shingles. I'm looking at two of 6.
We could amend that, yeah.
Okay. So,
I would say the additions and the main body of the house would go to a beveled siding, basically, and then we would leave, since we aren't touching the addition on the side there, that would stay as it is.
and that's clapboard also. All right, so there's no shingle,
No new shingles.
no new shingles.
Yeah, but the existing bump out on that left side, we're not going to be re-siding that because it's in good condition and
Okay.
set back from the main structure, and that is shingled down.
Okay. All right, so that's amended to the application. Anybody else in the public? All right, thank you. Let's close the public hearing and wait for a motion. where we can have more discussion, if necessary. And I'd like to point out, just to point out for the record that Mr. Adams is recusing himself, which is why he spoke as a member of the public, and both of our alternates will be voting on this.
I will make a motion to approve as presented with the revised clarification on the shingles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Well, findings of fact first, and then we can have a discussion.
Findings of fact, I believe it is, it complements and enhances the architectural and historic character of the community, and it is, it relates to the historic and architectural value of existing structures.
Okay, any further discussion?
So I've talked about this before, that I really feel that this building should not be altered, that it has a place in the historic district as it is. It's unique. It's not fancy, but our job is not to protect only the fancy structures. If we're to say that this building is not important, it doesn't have a place in time in the historic district, then you should say that the simple buildings on Prey Street that are little rectangles and don't have anything really special about them, that they're not of any value either. And the only difference is the age. And 100 years from now, this building, if it were still here, would be as old as the houses on Prey Street are today. And so I just, although I agree that this is not a building that is going to knock anyone's socks off, it tells a story of the development of this type of house. It doesn't exist anywhere inside the district. When it's gone, there's never going to be anything like it that's protected. Anything that was built like this outside of the district can be torn down, changed, and this little piece of history will completely disappear. I don't have a problem, if this were an empty lot and you were trying to put this colonial building on here, faux colonial building, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I think the design is fine, although the bump out in the front bothers me, but I understand why it's there. So I'm speaking strictly to this question of, do we value all of the variety of buildings that we have in the historic district, or are we only going to say that these buildings are important enough to save versus those buildings based on what? Our own personal preference as to what kind of building we think is worthy? Or are all of the buildings, should be given due consideration for their place in time? So I would be voting against this. Not because I don't like the design or what's going to go up there, but because I feel it's important to save this house.
Anyone else?
I would like to,
Sure.
I'll address that. To me, this building, you're saying it needs to be preserved because it was an act that happened over 50 years ago. Well, I just feel that it was a mistake when it was built 50 years ago. And the fact that it just has shown up, it's got the attendance award, and it has longevity, all of a sudden it makes it respectable. And I have to disagree. There are higher forms of architectural, of architecture and art, and we should be honoring that, and not necessarily the errors that occurred over 50 years ago. I see no, if you want an example of this, you can easily drive through town outside of the district and find dozens, hundreds of these structures. I would prefer to see something that is more relevant to the district, is appropriately scaled, appropriately the appropriate language for the community in that location. So to me, I have no heartburn about this particular building being altered as significantly as it is. I think it's correcting something that shouldn't have occurred. I guess it's in the 1970s when it was built. I'm looking at the,
1950.
1950.
okay. I saw the Portsmouth Advocates listing of it. But anyway, to me, it wasn't appropriate then. It's not appropriate now. I don't see it becoming respectable just because it's stood the test of time. I have to disagree on that fact.
Anyone else? Discussion? Yes, Dr.
I have to support some of the things that Martin is saying, as well as I have to look at the owner's right to change a house that has little historical significance into something that they can live in and will fit into the neighborhood. So I guess I'm taking Rick Blaylock's side on that. The owner should have some right too, especially on a house that's not historically significant.
Okay. Mr. Booz?
I was going to throw in that looking at that 1924 map, it looks like there was a two-story home there, but we don't really know what that looked like in 1924. And I think on the one hand, I like what the architect's done by blowing it up with the symmetrical windows, and I understand I understand what Margot's saying, but I think it also goes with what the doctor just said, that the people have the right to improve their home to make it more livable and something that they would certainly stay there in versus selling the house and perhaps moving elsewhere. So I think it, in a sense, you have to allow the owners that latitude. My own personal preference, I don't like the hip roof bump out on the front, but if the owners do, everybody doesn't like the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it still retains the look of an historical house. So I would prefer that part wasn't there, but I wouldn't vote no just because of it. So I think you have the right to improve your living quality.
Right. Ms. Strauss?
I appreciate Margot's perspective, I really do. She's so much more knowledgeable than I am, with many years of experience in this. But for the information about what historically had been there, to me, this 1950 house, while it may represent a time and period, it doesn't, to me, represent what the neighborhood itself was all about. And so the improvements, I'm going to call them that, the improvements, I think, do, in my perspective, do a better service to that particular dwelling than saying it can't have anything else done to it. So respectfully, I disagree with Margot.
I'm not saying that there isn't something that couldn't be done to this house, but the dramatic change from this cape structure to the structure that is being presented to me just goes too far. And with regard to the comment about people having the right to improve and enlarge their houses, I'd be careful going down that road, because you have a small house on Prey Street and someone wants to turn that 1.5-story structure into a 3-story structure. I'm not sure we'd feel the same way about it. So I would be careful with that particular rationale and how far that goes. If this, I can't redesign this for these people and the architect. I can only respond to what they've put in front of me. But if they had put in front of me a cape with a high knee wall, I probably would have been much more supportive. But this is what's here, and that's my opinion. That's fine. I respect everybody's contrasting opinion.
This is why This is why we're all here. Anything else said? Okay. I appreciate all of this discussion because I think means that we're actually thinking about this and really working through what it means to look at change in the historic district and look at the whole history of the historic district. There's obviously been a lot done to this very prominent corner here. And this funny little house, which is in architectural history terms, is what you would call a minimal traditional house. It's like the precursor to a ranch. But there were many of them built right after World War II, and they were pretty easy to design and fairly cheap to construct. So lots of them were built. And I have a sense that you're saying that this was just kind of, I guess if it was built by the neighboring property owner as a little rental, in the 1950s, Portsmouth wasn't a super affluent place like it is today. And so this is probably what they could afford and all that people could afford to rent.
Which means it wasn't an error.
No, I don't think it was an error, and I don't, but it is inconsistent with what the neighboring context is, and so I don't necessarily think that this has to be, frozen in time as it is right now. I actually think that the changes being made to it now are part of the interesting story of this corner and how it's evolving and its change over time. So yes, it is not a historically accurate design. It's not totally symmetrical like the historic houses around it. It is very quirky, the design that they've come up with, but I think that this is actually a very interesting part of the story and evolution of this house and this property. So I will vote for it because I do not think that it is inappropriate. I don't think that I'm not going to fall on my sword on this one. So with that all being said, I will call for a vote at this point. Thank you for your patience with all of this. All of those in favor of approving this?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, opposed.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. You've got the approval. All right. And lastly, we have public hearing number 6. Public hearing requested by Gino and Francesca Marconi, owners, for property located at 177 Mechanic Street, wherein permission is requested to allow renovations to an existing structure, lift the existing shed structure 2 feet to mitigate flooding, as per plans on file in the Planning Department. Said property is shown on Assessor Map 103 as Lot 34 and lies within the waterfront business and historic districts. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Francesca Marconi Fernald, owner of the property. As you can see, this was on a better day. We got flooded really bad in that January storm. I lost everything on the first floor of both buildings. And I'm asking to raise my outer barn, which is a barn, 2 feet so that we can maybe not lose my equipment and continue my business and the fishing and everything else that we do in the restaurant. Just gonna go straight up. I don't know if you have any questions for me, please ask. It's pretty straightforward. The folks that are doing the work have done multiple jobs in the neighborhood, stepping stones. They just finished, I believe, over at the Wentworth Gardner House at their, I call it the sail loft. I don't know, their barn over there. So they know what they're doing. That's why I asked them to help me.
Thank you. I think this is very interesting because these are the issues that we're dealing with and we'll be seeing more and more often. So thank you for coming to figure out how to deal with it rather than just taking it away. But, because we wouldn't want to see it removed.
No, I don't either. Again, nothing is going to change on the outside. It's going to go straight up to allow the water to go underneath it and continue on, because the water is going to do what the water wants to do. And I figured that was the most minimal impact to everything, was to just go straight up.
All right, any questions? Yes.
When you say straight up, you're going to see piers at the bottom. There's not going to be a skirting or anything that encloses it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It is currently on sonotubes. It looks like it's on a foundation just because the paving in the front goes up, but it is currently on sonotubes.
And that you'll just see sonotubes for 24 inches, I understand.
Yes, I believe, were we going to put, I'm sorry, this is my husband, Jim. He's been helping me with this because it's not my forte of this, so I do need some help.
So basically, right now, the building sits on approximately, I think it's 12 sonotubes, and they're tied in, and there's cribbing underneath. I think they're 4x10s all the way around the building, across the sonotubes. And what we're going to do is raise it up off of that and put 6x6 pressure-treated lumber to raise it up, so that we won't be extending the sonotubes. We'll have the cribbing. So think of the small boat shed as you go over the last causeway into Newcastle. It's on the left-hand side facing the prison. You see the wood structure underneath the building supporting it. That's kind of what it's going to look like.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Sir, may I? You have stone surrounding the building.
That's correct.
And then you have a key of sorts. The building, as it looks to me, it looks like it's somewhat below the current surface of the asphalt that you've put on the top of that surface.
Yeah, so if you go back to the picture of the flooded area, you can't really see it here, but the actual land slopes from the left side of that picture to the right side, and it actually slopes a little bit from front to back as well. So, and the granite blocking that makes up the seawall, for lack of a better term, is slightly above the surface of the pavement in some areas, and certainly the crushed stone that's underneath the building.
That was my impression and I was wondering what kind of a well there was there. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. The building's too low, and you're going to raise it up so that there'll be 24 inches of clearance underneath, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to fill that area in, bring it up to grade?
part of it, the granite blocks that you see only go up so high, so the building will be, the floor of the building will be above that. So
And you have-
we will backfill with the crushed stone as high as those blocks are.
And there's no intent to move any of the granite stone around? This building's not going to move left or right?
Nope, it's just going to go 2 feet up.
And you're going to need some way to get into it?
Correct.
And what will that be?
So if you take a look at that picture, you can see there's a small granite step. It's like a half step. It's maybe 2 or 3 inches above the ground surface. So adding 2 feet, we're going to take that out and just put in pressure-treated open risers going into the barn. More functional and in keeping with all of the pressure-treated lumber on the wharf that's in the backside and everything like that.
And how long are those piles going to be that you're going to be driving into that material? Or said, it looks like it's on concrete tubes.
Yeah, so if you scroll down to the
And I'm there?
concrete tubes. Yeah.
In the drawing, they look to be
Yeah, if you go, so.
quite large.
Yeah, so we don't know how deep they actually go. That's if you go down to the next, one more, that one. So they are currently 10 inches in diameter. Not exactly sure how deep they go, but they go down quite a ways. So the plan is to lift the building up off of that and put cribbing as spacing underneath it. So you won't actually see the pilings.
All right. Well, thank you.
Any other
The
questions?
surface of the pilings actually sits slightly below those granite blocks that go around the outside.
Mr. Cruz?
I just want to compliment you because I think you got a very ingenious solution, and it's a perfect example of a homeowner just, not to use the same word, but doing something really ingenious and creative to solve a problem. So
Jesus Christ.
salute you. Follow-on question now. The restaurant portion,
Yes.
are you, I don't know, a few months ago, we approved a project on Marcy and Prey where the houses were elevated a little bit because of the same problem in your neighborhood. Are you going to look down the road about doing something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to preserve my business. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I was born and brought up in that piece of property, and I love it.
No, I hear that, and I really salute you for your ingenuity, so.
I just need to hit the lottery.
The restaurant building does sit elevation-wise slightly higher, so it's less prone to flooding.
But I saw the watermarks on the shingles,
Yeah.
and they're there.
1978 and 2024.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you got about a foot and a half looking at that screen door where the water stains are.
Any other questions? I guess my only question was what Mr. Adams asked is what the entryway to it is going to look like once it's higher up off the ground. So, and I realize you might not be able to figure that out until it's there, but, you know, you've said that they're pressure treated risers, but how many steps is it going to need
Yeah, so can you go back to the photo? I can try to explain it
Yeah.
a little bit better. So the existing barn door is staying, that slides open for access. I think it's about a 4-foot opening, maybe. It's pretty good size.
Yeah.
So we'll have, because it's only 2 feet in elevation, we only need maybe 3 risers, standard stair risers made out of pressure-treated wood. So there's no railing required or anything like that. It would just be open. And it's really more utilitarian. It's to provide access for the workers going in and out of the building.
And is it just going to cover the door opening, or is it going to be the whole?
Just the door opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
No bigger stone that's there now.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we need, this is a question really for Isaac and for the inspection department, do we need a drawing of that at least just to kind of show what's going to be there so that that can be approved or as part of the?
I mean, I think as long as it's submitted with the building permit, I think that's fine. We have it on record that we've talked about.
Great.
I think it's simple enough that we probably don't need to have it come back for admin approval. So I think if we just include the final dimensions in your building permit, which of course you'll need, we'll be good to go. Okay.
Just making sure all of our bases are covered.
One
yeah.
question. So the propane tank that's to the right of the building as you look at it, is that for that building or is it something else?
No longer, that's,
Oh,
it was, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
done
an
away
old
with.
Yeah.
Started floating, we decided to get rid of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right, I see it's gone in the other one, yeah.
there's no heat in there.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions? Let's open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak to, for, or against this? Good. Please just introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Glenn Normando. I live at 15 Pickering Ave. I own the South End Yacht Club also in that whole pile of yellow buildings at that end. In the same December 23 storm, I had 15 inches of seawater in the building and lost $14,000 worth of equipment in there. So someday when I win Powerball, I'll be back to you for my own program. But in any event, I'm just here to support Francesca's application and just say that, you know, this is a problem everywhere. I mean, my building, just to meet the current FEMA code, has to come up 3 feet. So, you know, there's a lot of work needs getting done down there if we're going to have a waterfront and not just let it go back into the ocean. So, that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Look at those legs.
8 weeks now. As in a butter, I'm Dan Brown, Pickering Street, 32 Pickering Street. As in a butter, about 3 houses away, but luckily about 14 feet higher. I'm hoping I'll have to come before this board for at least 20 more years, but it's the whole neighborhood's going to need it. And it's going to be interesting to see what we do with these properties. And I certainly support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Pete Moore, and I'm 170 Mechanic Street. I'm right across the street. And actually, we have the red building on the right side, which you can't see. So we're in the same zone for this whole program. We don't depend on it like Francesca does and Glenn does, but we're all going to be dealing with this, as it's been said. So I don't think any one of us are looking forward to spending the money to do what we have to do, but if we're going to preserve it, there's no other alternative. So anyways, I'm just here to support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else from the public? All right, is there anyone online? I'll close the public hearing and wait for a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to move that we approve this application as presented. Is there a second?
Get a second?
Yes.
I believe that it will not only preserve the integrity of the district, but to help maintain the character of the district. As far as front steps, I think it's hard to think of what an inappropriate set of front steps would be to a shack at a lobster pound. So I think they're going to do fine with that. I certainly think because of the sensitive nature of the moving that they're doing and trying to play many different factors at the same time, that they'll come to a good conclusion.
I would add that it promotes the education and pleasure and welfare of the district as well, because Francesca's soup is amazing.
Any other discussion? Thank you for leading the way in all this, and sorry that we're faced with all of this, but we'll save it all as much as we can. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, chair votes aye. Thank you.
It's nice to see the hood showing up too, by the way.
All right, that is it. We had a much shorter agenda tonight than initially posted, so that's great. The only other thing I have to report is that the CLG, not LCHIP, the CLG application is due on December 1st, and so I'm just working on getting all of those pieces in alignment, but it should be no problem. So, anyone else? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Everybody in
Yes.
favor? Oh, thank you.
I want to thank